Rockhart at your service. My name is Leo. I have a question for you, Rockhart, before we watch exactly how BREN Esports got here. I have to ask you now, who do you think is favored here in this matchup?
I gotta say, very difficult for me, but to decide on this. Thank you so much for putting me on the hot seat. Thank
It's a
you.
hard question.
But,
It's very hard. I wanted to see if you could give us a little insight.
yeah, knowing BREN, I feel like they'll have something up their sleeves. If you talk to Ducky at least once, and I know both of you have, you'll know this guy. It seems like he plans out breakfast, lunch, and dinner for these guys. So I feel like he already has the semis, the upper bracket, the lower bracket, even the grand finals already planned out in his head. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. He might actually know what he's doing. And just because of that, I think he might give BREN Esports that drafting edge and, of course, the confidence to pull through.
All right, slight edge to BREN Esports because of how Ducky plans out their meals, including snacks. How about you, Wolf? As we see the draft unfold, we'll get to the picks in just a bit, but do you have an idea as to who might have the edge here in Game 1?
Actually, the edge in the whole series, I think I'm going to give it to SUNSPAKS just a little bit. Watching all their games, I've watched a lot of games all throughout the season, not only once, but more than twice. And the way I see it, SUNSPAKS always gets the better of BREN Esports in almost all aspects of the game.
Okay, but whenever they met in the season, though, BREN Esports, they got SUNSPAKS' number, right? But again, let's get back into the draft here. SUNSPAKS banning out the Claude and the Valier. BREN Esports taking out Selena and Natalia, both very much greed heroes. But we now see the lineups unfold. First half done. What can we say about this?
Now, I think BREN Esports are showing us the anti-funnel, the anti-funnel funnel. The anti-funnel strat is the anti-funnel strat is definitely the Ling, but Lancelot is rising in the meta because of many factors. Number one is it kind of trumps the Ling in terms of like destroying your opposing funnel receiver, and also you can do a lot of micro stuff for the Lancelot. So SUNSPAKS, I don't think that they'll pick Kufra, or they can actually pick Kufra to kind of answer this Lancelot.
So the Lancelot is, I think I'm very happy to see that we're not really going crazy anymore when people show the Lancelot. I think the reason why it's being picked up recently is very similar playstyle to a Ling. It actually does scale pretty similarly, except for maybe Ling having more uptime, right? Compared to Lancelot, which has to wait for the ultimate to go back up. And of course, it always needs to hit a minion or a target before you can use puncture over and over again. So basically, I see two Lings battling it out. I see swordsmen fighting it out in the air while I'm looking at the draft right now.
Sword fight. Oh, but wait. Are they introducing daggers? Wolf, check this out. Daggers.
Yes.
Rockhart, daggers.
Oh my god.
It's the execution, man. Execution.
It's the execution. It's the execution. It's Obeer, and that's the reverse of Rebo. But real quick, as you see the lineups now, I'd like for you to digest what we're seeing as I talk about real quick the pros and cons of a Ling and a Lancelot. Lancelot has better damage output, I believe, than Ling, but Ling has the CC in Tempest of Blades. Tempest of Blades has the CC, and it allows Ling to jump around, but Lancelot, he's a little more reliable, I think. He doesn't have to hop out after the engage. So those are some things to consider when you're thinking about the anti-funnel strategy that's now happening. But
that's hard to say.
Real quick, based on the lineups, who you got in this Game 1?
All right, I'm gonna have to go with SUNSPAKS because as cheeky and as explosive BREN Esports lineup is, maybe they can fail. It's not a fail-safe strategy, and SUNSPAKS will be able to punish that.
Okay, SUNSPAKS for you, Rockhart.
Yeah, SUNSPAKS, I feel like they're not dilly-dallying. Am I saying that right? I don't think they're not in any mood to play around here with the lineup that they drafted. And there is some potential for BREN's lineup to go crazy, but at the same time, there is a reason why Gusion is not picked that often in the MPL, and we might see it here. So it's going to be a quick SUNSPAKS for me.
Okay, make it 3 SUNSPAKS, 3-0. Let's see what Seiya and Nomad think as they're about to call the action. It's all yours.
Well, I personally think that it's going to be a SUNSPARK game. I don't know about you, Seiya, but we are going to be delivering you the action here in the upper bracket finals of the Mobile Legends Bang Professional League Season 5 playoffs. And I am Nomad. Alongside with me is Seiya. What do you think? Is it going to be a SUNSPARKS game, or are you going to be breaking the norm and make it and give it to BREN?
You know, when I kind of, uncertain of having my own prediction, since I think of a first caster for now, but I will agree with the panelists alongside with you. It's a SUNSPARKS game simply because for this specific playoffs, we really can't afford any more cheeky plays. And it's true, BREN Esports individually can really use this types of heroes with the West. But the thing is, there's also the question of the team play on how they would come and execute this properly. But without further ado, Nomad, this is our third series, game number 1 between SUNSPARKS and BREN Esports.
And it's going to be crucial to see how BREN Esports would actually capitalize on few on that Gushin, actually. A bit of an early invade here on the side of BREN Esports. SUNSPARKS will be disengaging. Instead, I think BREN Esports is gonna try to funnel as much money as they can to few. I guess that is the game plan here.
Most likely, because it could be few or it could be the last one. But the thing is, it's kind of evident that the economy is going to be divided for sure. And now we are seeing some aggression from some sparks. They're coming on the top side, 4 people there, and the last force tower dive back away into safety. But again, let's see. Look at these rallies going through. Easy with the low breaker has the help as the lane goes for the first blood. Will he get Lassie though? Let's see. Rebo will be forced to spray. Watcher who won't be able to catch him. It goes to Ringo for
This is a very interesting fight. As I say that, the fight is continuing. Nice ejection under turret. Rachel will almost takes out Reflation there. That is going to be agreed falling down. But the HPs of both SUNSPARKS and BREN Esports this earlier on is low. Like they're not as tanky as they wanted to be because they don't have as much items yet.
Yes.
But moving in, yeah.
But still, it was still an advantage for SUNSPARKS here. Really, knowing how to gain control of that top side right here with the number of people that they had.
And speaking of numbers, there's a big number here over the top side just to secure a few. I guess that would be converted into a turn push unless Lassie decides to use Force of Nature on this, but I don't think he's going to last any longer because that is a 4-man pressure here from SUNSPARKS securing the kill and eventually securing that turret push as soon as the minion wave comes in.
Yes, so far I like how SUNSPARKS here is really grouping up or clumping up together and going for these 1-to-1 pickoffs right here onto the top and to the middle side of our lanes. It gives them the economy that they need, and at the same time it kind of shackles the initial strategy of BREN Esports. But again, even though SUNSPARKS has this quite evident amount of lead, you still really can't neglect them out just yet. Come the late game, I think BREN Esports can still push this through. But how can they though? Soko here is going to be guarded with the Guardian's Barrier. Lane will be going in and goes for that kill, but the exchange is going to be real while View tries to go for JQ but manages to shift into a different target instead. And I think Falling Star Moon will be immobilizing Q. Let's see if BREN Esports can still catch up through. And let's see, look at that, below HP cost. LPJs foresees the flicker and the highest will go for the cleanup. Reflecia, low on health. Kazu will be taking that kill, and this is yet over. The face is done. Will JP and the others get him? Rebo will be using this flare away, but the last insanity to use to pop him up and go for that cornering, and finally, Ling goes for the kill.
This is how SUNSPARKS is slowly winning this. JP is sitting at 5-0 with a bounty hunter on that Ling. And JP has been showing a masterful work here as the Ling. But nice attempt there with the Thorn Rose to try to steal a turtle. But I think Coco is the next one to go down. The Reflecia pops out the glorious pathway in order to chase the Rangers here from Carlteasy. Carlteasy also takes down JP. And Carlteasy just one more auto attack, and that would have been it from him if only Green was in range. But that's going to be the kill secure. Rebo will be using that Divine Judgment to secure the kill onto Greed. But as I was saying, JP was just really showing how masterful he is on that link. But at the same time, Carlteasy on that Lancelot, you really don't want to discount them with that fact that he's just a micro god, Carlteasy.
Yes, indeed. And did you see how beautifully Greed protected the link there? Because if not, that would be a good trade-off for the side of BREN Esports. And that was a close call for the side of SUNSPAKS. But then again, going back here, we are now starting to see a little bit of, the advantages ahead for the side of SUNSPAKS. And then another pick-off is going to come through. Looks like this is like no break for the side of Skirmish. Fight right here as Coco will be quartered by Pizza and Kilowatt. Let's see if they will get a trade-off for themselves. Quartered again by the Sling right here. Goes to that cleanup and forcing BREN Esports to go for the tower dive. Guardian's Barrier will be used for this engagement. This is a good discipline for the side of BREN Esports.
Man, JP just came in at the last second just to finish off the job. That's how Ling should be doing things. And 10 and 4, 6,000 gold here for SUNSPAKS. They're really making sure that BREN Esports does not have any room to breathe here. And I think they are going to try to steal this buff from BREN Esports. But that is going to be completely disengaged. Because they might just focus on the turtle this time around.
And then again, objective-wise, SUNSPAKS do know how to go for their objectives really swell in terms of they know how to shove away the members of BREN Esports. And even though that BREN is trying to attest or contest, like this one rather, you know how the retribution is really timely placed by JP right here. The last Sandy will be hitting down Coco once again and will be having that pick off. And so far, this is getting a bit speaking of dangerous right here, looks like the members of BREN Esports will be working back away, and Lancelot will be going for that shutdown on the link. A nice trade-off here, but let's see. Kilowatt with 3 people going up against them, and Lancelot might be taking kill, but no, I think it was actually in the hands of the Thons right there.
That was on that was a good kill though. But they didn't want to give the kill to Carlteasy, so might as well just give it to Lassie, right?
Yeah.
So he just went straight for the turret and just immediately, I'm gonna die anyway, might as well not give Carlteasy any chance to bounce back in this game. Speaking of bounce back, BREN Esports, they are gonna try to bounce back here on this fight. They're catching Reflecia here on that high loss. Not really much they can do because high loss is one tanky hero. Greed though, no Firaga armor available. Will be going for the fire missiles. Not a lot in the tank here for SUNSPAKS. HPs are dangerously low. JP gonna try to secure this buff in order for him to rejoin the fight. Falling Star Moon just to try to catch up onto Few there. And this is going to be a complete disengage from BREN Esports.
That was a pretty risky fight for both sides of the team, honestly. It was really a tight place where you could, really start it. And so far, it's a close call, specifically for BREN Esports, because at this point, I think this is the part where they have to start really compensating themselves for the losses that they have during the first 7 minutes of the game. Because if they let SUNSPAKS really scale all throughout this game and let the Ling really, get fed up, I think this is going to be a more transitioning into a one-sided game.
Oh, and just a good solo kill there on the Few. Few hasn't been very effective with that Gushin. And Gushin, Few is actually rolling with in pure rage as his emblem. But as I say that, Coco in a bit of a tight spot. It's a 2v1. I believe this turret is going to be enough to save him from the eventual death.
Close call too, because the Ling wasn't there in the vicinity for that cleanup. But then again, SUNSPAKS here, I think they're just really protecting this area here from Santa Turtle so that they could get the objectives once again. And BREN really knows that they might be going for this transition and attempt to get there. But they really cannot afford casualties at this point. But this leaves a huge amount of space for SUNSPARKS to really go and snag all of those resources for them. And this, I think, what BREN needs to do right here, Nomad, is to really pin down, at least get the players of SUNSPARKS here one by one, and try to avoid really uncalled for team fight.
I agree. BREN Esports has a lot of catches with them. They got Lusty, just go for the wild charge, will be able to catch anybody off, will be able to knock multiple people off guard, and Rebo will be able to just go for a divine judgment, try to catch KLVZ or JP, and that's something that SUNSPARKS is completely missing. Yeah, fire sticks are available for Greed, but that's just a displacement and not really a hard CC, and that, I think, is how SUNSPARKS might lose this game. BREN Esports, they got more catches, they got more CCs, they can control how the team fights go.
Yes. But the thing here, in terms of control, SUNSPARKS has this in terms of the map domination, and I think this is just really a patient game for SUNSPARKS and just waiting for that mistake from BREN Esports, because if ever so, specifically this one, if they manage to disperse and catch at least one or two members of BREN, it follows through. But then again, here Coco just really tossing off Felicia there just for that disengage. But so far, I think I will remain to what I've said earlier. They're just really waiting for that opening to really wipe out BREN.
And speaking of wipeout, that is going to be JB committing the Tempest of Blades onto Coco. Coco barely manages to make it out of it alive there. Gets a double kill here onto JP, where Felicia gets Divine Judgment. And there to his death. That is a 1-for-2 trade, and JP is coming out on top of that with 9-1 and 1 currently on scoreboard. Already having the endless battle.
Yes.
And this is not what we get with BREN Esports. Ling is a problem.
Yeah, there is a specific reason why this Ling is priority banned and why the Cushion is not priority picked. Because, like what we all said, as cheesy as this looks, it's not really gonna work specifically for the meta that we have right now. And it's already showing signs. And here, JP is having this high level threat against BREN. For BREN Esports, however, they might be opting for a clumped together one huge team fight here onto our middle side. But this is also risky though, because you have to take note of the Esmeralda's falling star moon. If they are too close together and was able to be immobilized by that, I think that's a beautiful team fight for SUNSPARKS.
Yeah, that's going to be a beautiful team fight. I agree with you. But we are not seeing SUNSPARKS engaging with the team fight, but instead BREN Esports is the one engaging, and SUNSPARKS is just reacting purely on what BREN Esports is doing, and that is a sign of good disengagement from SUNSPARKS. They're trying to counter-initiate. As soon as they counter-initiate, the fight just starts going their way.
Yeah. Which leaves us back to the point where this is going the disadvantage point for BREN, because if they keep going for uncalled for fights, this is going to be the result. So I like it how Greed used his last sanity to show off the members of BREN and transitions to the middle side, but then Esmeralda here will be having a kill of his own. But look at that side, while you're pushing that middle side of the tower, there was clashes here and there, but no casualties so far. But okay, Greed here with a low amount of health. Good thing he still has the mortality in his hand, but there are still no minions. So SUNSPARKS here is just really taking their time, transitioning from one turret to another, leaving BREN with no pushing. And I think it's gonna be over. Temple Stage will be used. Esmeralda will be having kill of his sword with his Raga armor. And again, looking here, it looks like this is game number 1 in the hands of SUNSPARKS.
Wow, that was complete dominance from SUNSPARKS. This is uncharacteristic from BREN Esports. We have not seen BREN Esports suffer this big of a loss in the playoffs, for that matter. And it was just completely one-sided. SUNSPARKS were able to secure objectives, secure big team fights, and make sure that they don't give Kaltizi any chance to come back in the game by giving him kills. And I feel like Kaltizi was the only one only linchpin here in the side of SUNSPAKS to really win the game. If Maltese went online, could have been a different story, but that's just how it is.
True. And it's also evident the misposition